My name is Olivia Cook, and in 2009, I almost died. I was just a 17-year-old high school girl living in the small, quiet town of Warwick, New York. The kind of place where everyone knew everyone and nothing bad was ever supposed to happen. That evening started like any other. Mom was in the kitchen trying to finish dinner while keeping my two little brothers from turning the house upside down. "Olivia, could you please run down to the store?" she said breathlessly. "We're out of milk, bread, and onions. I can't leave now with the boys acting like wild monkeys." "Sure, Mom," I'd replied, grabbing a few dollars from the counter. "I'll be right back." The air was cool as I walked down a narrow path that led to the small store 2 blocks away. By the time I bought what we needed and began heading home, the sun had already dipped behind the hills. The streets were quiet, eerily quiet, the kind of silence that makes you suddenly aware of your own footsteps. As I got closer to the turn that led to my street, I noticed a group of boys just up ahead. Maybe 4, maybe 5. It was hard to tell in the dim light. They were laughing among themselves, their voices echoing faintly in the stillness. I slowed my pace. Something about them didn't feel right. Before I could turn around or cross the road, one of them stepped forward, blocking my path. "Hey there," he said, his tone too casual to be friendly. "What's a pretty thing like you doing out here alone at this time?" My throat went dry. I clutched the grocery bag tighter and tried to step aside. "Just heading home," I murmured. "My mom's waiting for me." Another boy moved closer. He smelled of cigarettes and cheap cologne. "He asked you a question," he said, grabbing my arm when I tried to pass. I froze. My heart was thundering so hard I could barely hear anything else. "Please," I said quickly, "I really have to go. My mom will be worried." They didn't care. One of them snatched the grocery bag out of my hands and kicked it. The bread, onions, and milk spilled across the dusty road, rolling away. "Oh, look," one of them jeered. "Now she's got nothing to take home." I dropped to my knees, scrambling to pick up what I could, but before I could reach for the milk, I felt a sharp sting across the side of my neck, a hard slap that made my vision blur. "Ow!" I cried out in pain, clutching my neck. "Shh!" One of them hissed, pulling out a small pocket knife that caught what little light was left. "You make another sound and I'll make sure you don't make any more ever again." Tears burned behind my eyes. My whole body trembled uncontrollably. "Please," I begged, "please let me go. I won't tell anyone, I promise. Please." They laughed. My fear was entertainment to them. And then, from behind the group, I saw a familiar face. Tony. My breath caught. Tony was a boy from my high school. Loud, reckless, always getting into fights, but I never imagined he'd be part of something like this. "Tony," I whispered, my voice cracking. The boy with the knife turned to him. "You know this chick?" Tony smirked, stepping closer until I could see his face clearly under the fading light. "Yeah," he said. "She's just a stupid girl from school." "Tony, please," I pleaded, tears streaming down my face. "Tell them to stop, please. Just let me go." He tilted his head, watching me like I was some kind of joke. "It's not up to me," he said coldly. "You should never walk here alone." My heart sunk. That was when I realized they weren't going to let me go. I didn't think. I ran. I bolted past them, hearing their shouts behind me, the rush of footsteps chasing after me. And then, a sudden burning pain sliced across my neck. The world spun. My knees buckled. I fell face first into the dirt, warmth spreading down my shoulder, my blood.
I could hear their voices blurring together. Panic, anger, confusion. "What the hell, man? Why'd you do that? She's bleeding, you idiot! We gotta go now!" Their footsteps scattered into the darkness. leaving me alone. The world faded into a strange silence. The stars above me blurred in streaks of white light as I tried to breathe. I remember thinking, this is it. I'm gonna die here. Then everything went black. 2 days later, I woke up in a hospital bed. My throat ached, my neck was bandaged, and there was a machine softly beeping beside me. When I turned my head, my mother was there, her eyes swollen from crying. "Oh, Olivia," she sobbed, clutching my hand. "You're awake. Thank God you're awake." I tried to speak, but my voice came out in a broken whisper. "Mom, Shh, don't talk, sweetheart. You're safe now."
When I recovered enough to speak, I told her everything. Every word, every face, every moment of that night. She called the police immediately. Tony and the others were arrested within a week. The boy who stabbed me confessed during interrogation. They were all charged with attempted murder, and the court gave them long-term sentences. No parole. To this day, whenever I walk alone in the evening, I still hear the echo of that night, the laughter, the knife, and Tony's cold smile. I survived, but I left a part of myself on that dark Warwick Road in 2009.
My name is Dan, and I want to share a horrifying experience I had in September 2019, a night that changed my life forever. I grew up an only child. Fear was something that never really left me. It followed me through childhood, into adulthood, and even into the quiet home I shared with my mother. At the time, she was battling a severe stroke. She couldn't move much, couldn't feed herself, and her speech had become slurred beyond recognition. I was all she had, and she was all I had. My father had died when I was just 2 years old. I don't even remember him. The only memory I have of him is a faded photograph that hung in our living room. We lived in a small wooden house on the outskirts of Solving, a quiet town in Santa Barbara, California, but closest neighbor was nearly a mile away. Peaceful, yes, but also terribly lonely. That evening started as any other. I was in the kitchen, feeding Mom her dinner. She sat in her old rocking chair, her frail hands trembling slightly as I spooned soup into her mouth. "Easy, Mom," I said softly. "It's still warm. You burn your tongue." She smiled faintly, her eyes soft but tired. "You good boy," she muttered, her words heavy and slow. "I know, Mom." I forced my smile. "Now open up, one more spoon, yeah?" It was moments like that that broke me. Seeing the woman who once ran my whole house, now unable to lift her own spoon, it did something to me, but I stayed strong for her.
After she finished eating, I wiped her mouth gently, adjusted her blanket, and kissed her forehead, then took her to her room and laid her down. "I'll clean up and then head to bed myself," I said. "Call me if you need anything, okay?" "Love you, Dadden," she whispered. "Love you too, Mom." I turned off the kitchen light and washed the plates and went into my room. It must have been around 9:30 or 10 p.m. The air was still. Outside, the crickets chirped in rhythm, and the old clock on the wall ticked loudly, filling the silence. I ate my dinner quickly, just a plate of beans and bread, and placed the empty dish on the nightstand. Then I crawled into bed, pulling the blanket up to my chest. For once, I thought I might actually sleep peacefully. But I was wrong. Just as I began to drift off, crash, a loud shattering sound ripped through the night, glass breaking somewhere in the house. My heart nearly stopped.
I sat up instantly, frozen. For a moment, I thought maybe I'd imagined it, but then came the soft thud of footsteps. "Mom?" I called out, my voice shaking. I knew it couldn't be her. She could barely move from her bed. Still, I heard her muffled voice trying to respond, the sound slurred and frightened. That made it worse. I swallowed hard, my breath shaking. "Maybe it's just raccoons," I whispered to myself, but deep down I knew that sound. That wasn't an animal. I grabbed the small flashlight from my nightstand and crept out of the room, my legs trembling beneath me. Every step on the wooden floor creaked like a scream. The corridor felt longer than usual. I could feel my pulse pounding in my ears as I approached the kitchen. And then I froze. There, under the faint moonlight streaming through the broken window, stood a man, tall, broad, and cloaked in darkness. In his hand gleamed a machete. "Get out," I stammered. "Who are you?"
He turned sharply toward me, his eyes wild. "Shut up," he barked. "Give me everything valuable you have in this house." My voice caught in my throat. I could barely breathe. My body was shaking so hard I could hear my teeth clattering. I swear we don't have anything," I managed to say, my words trembling. He took a step closer, the machete reflecting the dim light. "Don't play games with me," he yelled. "I'll use this. I'm not joking." Tears stung my eyes. My bladder gave way, and I felt warmth spread down my leg. I had just peed myself out of sheer terror. "Please," I begged. "We barely have anything. We can hardly even feed ourselves. The only thing of value we have is the old van outside." "Where's the key?" he barked. "It's in my room," I said quickly. "Please, just take it and go." "Show me." He gestured with the machete for me to move. I nodded frantically and led him down the hallway. Every step felt like a countdown to my death. When we reached my room, I pointed to the small table beside my bed. "There, it's there." He snatched the keys, his breathing heavy. Then he began rummaging through everything. Drawers, bags, shelves, knocking things over, scattering my mother's old photo frames across the floor. Meanwhile, I could hear faint, muffled noises from my mother's womb, terrified sounds, like she was trying to call aloud, but couldn't. My heart broke, but I couldn't make a move. One wrong step, and he'd kill us both. After what felt like an eternity, he grabbed a few other things, Mom's jewelry box, my old laptop, and even the tiny TV from the living room. Then turned toward the door. "Don't you dare move until I'm gone," he hissed. I nodded, trembling. He walked out, and moments later, I heard the van's engine start. Tires screeched against the dirt road as he drove away into the darkness. I stood there for several minutes, unable to move, unable to breathe, just listening to the silence he left behind. Then I ran straight to my mother's room. She was awake, terrified, tears rolling down her face. "It's okay, Mom," I whispered, kneeling beside her. He's gone now." She tried to say something, but the words wouldn't come out clearly. All I could understand was, "Safe. You safe?" "Yeah, Mom, I'm safe." I wasn't sure if I was telling her or myself. I called the police immediately, but the nearest station was in the next town. It took hours before they arrived. By then, the thief
and the van were long gone. We never saw that vehicle again. A month later, my mother passed away. The doctor said her body gave up after the stroke worsened, but deep down I knew. That night's terror had done something to her heart. She never recovered from the fear.
My name is Williamsbridge, and what I'm about to tell you isn't a tale I share often. It's something that still visits me in my dreams, something I can't quite shake off no matter how many years pass. It happened back in 2006 in Greene, Alabama, right after I graduated high school. I was still living with my parents at the time and planning to join the military. Life was simple, quiet even. But that night changed everything. It all started at my friend Jamie's birthday party. He just turned 18, and if there was anyone who knew how to throw a party, it was Jamie. His parents were wealthy, his dad a successful businessman, his mom a traveling model, so they were rarely home. That mansion of his, it was practically his playground. I remember him calling me 2 days before. "Bruh, you did not miss this one," Jamie said over the phone, excitement in his voice. I chuckled. "You say that every year." "Nah, man, this time it's serious. I've got a DJ, lights, food, and maybe, just maybe, Melissa from Homeroom." I made me laugh. All right, I'll be there. When the night came, I put on my best shirt and sneakers and walked a few blocks to his house. The air smelled of freshly cut grass and barbecue smoke from neighbors. By the time I got to his place, music was already thumping from inside. He opened the door in the moment I knocked, grinning wide. "Williams, my man." He wrapped me in a quick hug. "Welcome to paradise." I looked around, balloons everywhere, strobe light flashing, people dancing already. "Man, you weren't kidding," I said, stepping inside it. "Wait till it gets started," he said, winking. "We're just warming up." As the night wore on, more people poured in. Everyone was there. Students from our school, neighbors, even a few people I didn't recognize. Alcohol flowed freely, the air thick with laughter and music. It was the kind of party you remember for years, or wish you could forget. By around midnight, I was outside catching the breath with 2 of my buddies. "Yo, this is wild," one of them said, leaning on the fence. "Jamie outdid himself."
Man, I swear, I replied, if his parents ever find out. Before I could finish, the sound of sirens cut through the music. "Police!" someone screamed from inside. Instant chaos. People scattered, drinks spilled, bodies rushed toward doors, windows, even the backyard fence. "Crap, crap, crap," I muttered, sprinting through the side gate. I didn't even know why I was running. Old habits, I guess. You see cops, you run. I tore into the woods behind Jamie's mansion, the cold night air biting my skin. I kept running, not looking back, branches whipping my arms and face. It must have been 15, 20 minutes before I realized I was lost. The music was gone, the sirens were gone. All I could hear was the sound of my heart beating, the crickets. I pulled out my phone. Dead. Great. That's when I saw it, a faint light ahead through the trees. I pushed forward and came upon an old mansion, half swallowed by vines and decay. It looked abandoned, windows shattered, roof sagging. "Maybe someone lives here," I murmured, though I didn't believe it. Still, I figured I could rest till morning. I leaned against one of the walls, catching my breath. The silence was unnerving. Around 4 a.m., unable to sleep, curiosity got the better of me. I decided to look around. The front porch creaked under my weight. Inside, the place was dusty and cold, smelling faintly of damp wood, and something else. Something rotten. "Probably a dead animal," I whispered, though the stench grew worse the deeper I went. That's when I noticed a door at the end of the hallway, half hidden behind an old bookshelf. A staircase led downward. My gut screamed, "Don't go down there," but curiosity, it's an Asia thing.
I crept down the steps one slow step at a time. Each creak felt like a gunshot in the silence. The smell grew unbearable, thick, metallic, sour. When I reached the bottom, I saw another door. I tried to push it open, but it was locked. The hinges groaned. Then from the other side came a voice. "Who's there?" I froze. Another voice, this time softer. A woman's. "It's just the wind."
I didn't move. My hands trembled as I searched for a peephole or crack. Through a small slit in the door, I finally saw it, and I wished I hadn't. Inside, under the dim yellow light of a swinging bulb, stood a man in blood-stained overalls. His face was gaunt, emotionless. On the table before him were severed human limbs, fresh and dripping. Next to him, a woman carefully hung what looked like human skin on a line, like laundry. I slapped a hand over my mouth, fighting the urge to scream. I turned slowly, ready to climb back up, when my foot hit a loose plank. It snapped. The man's head jerked toward the door. "Someone's there," he barked. And that was it. I bolted up the stairs, heart pounding so fast I thought it'd explode. "Go!" he yelled behind me. Footsteps thundered up after me. I didn't look back. I burst through the front door, sprinting into the woods, branches tearing up my clothes. I must have ran for miles before I saw the highway lights. I waited frantically at the first car that appeared. The driver, a middle-aged man, rolled down his window. "Son, what happened to you? You look like you seen a ghost." "Please," I gasped, "just drive. I'll explain on the way. We're not safe here." He didn't ask more questions. He hit the gas, and I told him everything. The party, the woods, the basement. His hands tightened on the wheel. "We're going to the police," he said firmly. An hour later, I was in a small police station, shaken as I recounted every detail. The officers looked skeptical at first, until they sent a unit out there. By sunrise, word came back that he found the place, and everything I described was real. They arrested the couple who lived there, wanted fugitives from another state. The basement was filled with remains of at least 7 people. One officer came out of the interrogation room pale and shaken. "Kid," he said quietly, "you're lucky you ran when you did." I nodded, unable to say a word. It's been years since that night, but sometimes when I walk by an old house or smell something faintly metallic, I see that dim yellow light again, and I hear the man's voice whispering through the dark. "Who's there?"